Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. We will be simulcasting live on YouTube. Hey folks, I had to cut the sound out. It was bad audio. So this is the freaky thing, and Albert, I'm going to pull you in a minute. We are broadcasting live on YouTube simultaneously, youtube.com/Flying Charm, and all of a sudden my freaking webcam is working. I have no makeup on, I haven't combed my hair, and it's working, so I had to run to the bathroom, comb my hair, which I'm doing live, so I can look presentable for our first simulcast. I see Ben on the line, too. So what I'm going to do, guys, is we're doing the show on the Wooten files, and I just want to read one clip because I promised Ben that I was going to investigate the entire memo that Wooten sent his superiors in the U.S. Attorney General's office and his higher superiors for the Department of Interior and the BLM. So there might be parts of the simulcast you can't see me because I had to flip the page. So I'm going to read one segment on page 8. And this is Larry Wooten talking in the memo. In the time, I also became convinced, based on my supervisor and Mr. Meyer's statements, and by the way, he was from the U.S. Attorney's office, not the U.S. Attorney General's office, but Mr. Meyer was his associate at the U.S. Attorney's office. And although the U.S. Attorney's Office was generally aware of former BLM Dan Love's misconduct and likely civil rights and excessive force issues, the lead prosecutor, currently the acting Nevada United States Attorney, Stephen Meyer, adopted an attitude of don't ask, don't tell in reference to the BLM law enforcement supervisory misconduct that was of a substantive, exculpatory, and incredible bias nature. Not only did Mr. Meyer, in my opinion, not want to know or seek out evidence favorable to the accused, he and my supervisor discouraged not wanting to know or seek evidence, the reporting of such issues, and even likely covered up the misconduct. Furthermore, when I did report the misconduct, ethical, professional, and legal issues, I also became a victim of whistleblower retaliation. Additionally, the attorney, Stephen Meyer, adopted a few troubling policies in reference to this case. When we became aware of Dave Bundy's, When we became aware that Dave Bundy's seized pad likely contained remarks from BLM law enforcement officers that was potentially evidential of civil rights violations and excessive use of force, Mr. Meyer and my supervisor not only apparently failed to initiate the appropriate follow-up actions, Mr. Meyer failed to notify the defense counsel and also decided not to return the iPad back to Dave Bundy, even though the iPad wasn't going to be searched in pursuant to a search warrant or used as evidence in the trial. And Dave Bundy claimed he needed the iPad for his business. Mr. Meyer also adopted a policy of not giving a jury the option or ability to convict on lesser offenses, and instead relied on a hard case to prove complicated prosecution theory in order to achieve maximum punishments, which had generally failed to this point. So I'm going to stop quick because I don't want to bore the audience. All three of you are on the line. Great for calling in. We're doing this awesome simulcast tonight, and I'm really excited because we've already got 16 views on one of our archive cases on our former Bundy trial. I also uploaded some other Blog Talk Radio archives. One was on the punitive attitude towards Garrison Keillor and Al Franken, and we did. I've uploaded 4 so far, as well as my computer expert Barbara Patton. So with that, I'm saying hi to everybody. I'll say hi to Albert first. Hi, Albert. Since you called in first, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. I have a slight minor migraine / headache.
Are you serious? Was it caused by wind or fires in the Palm Springs area?
What's up? No, I said I have a slight minor headache or migraine. I'm not too sure. A little, small.
Well, sometimes it's caused by Sometimes it's caused by the environment,
It's caused by California.
Yeah, well, I
right,
guess...
and Don's in Reno.
I guess right here in the Coachella Valley, the Palm Springs Valley, it does get pretty dry because of the mountains. It absorb a lot of the moisture, so we get a lot of dry weather here. Plus, when it gets pretty warmed out here, that just makes it worse. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the weather. But I think my headache is probably other reasons. But anyways, I mean, it's not too bad, so I'm here.
Cool. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Don, why don't you briefly tell the group where you were today and where you're going to be tomorrow, and then Ben will join us with his greeting.
Yes, hi, folks. Hi, Ben, Albert. Today is the end of the week anyway for me, and tomorrow morning is the start of another busy week. But I am the co-chair of the Martin Luther King Church Memorial here in Reno, and we had about 100 people out today about 90 people out for our church service at the Unitarian Universalists, which we were very, very happy that they provided the venue. We also will have a memorial caravan that is the only one in the country, and we will have that tomorrow starting at 9:30. More than likely, you can see some of this press today and tomorrow on whatever blogs that everybody uses. So this is something that's the only one in the country, and we will be driving up our highway. I'll be leading, and we'll be driving up the highway to commemorate the passing of the birthday of Martin Luther King. So this is something that we are really proud of. We are one of the more probably active and or organized Martin Luther King festivities, if you will, in the country. This is our 32nd church memorial, and it is our 20th caravan. So it is significant, especially for the 50th anniversary.
That's great. And one thing I want to tell you guys, since we're simulcasting, I have to keep my new $300 phone on speaker, otherwise the audience won't hear. But basically, I did think we should take a moment out of our day to commemorate MLK Day. They did at my church today, and we also did a special prayer for victims of the California mudslides and fires and other people suffering around the country and world. So,
I also want to take a moment to remember Michael Hasty. He claimed to have some government documents and then was died / maybe murdered 4 years ago.
And who's that again, Albert? And
Michael Hasty.
What type of government documents?
Oh, Michael Hasty was a journalist. He had some kind of government documents, and he died in a car accident. And then said he had drugs in his system or something like that, and it was there was a lot of speculation on that they were done on purpose and stuff like that, and he was murdered because he had government documents. But but yeah, his name is Michael Hasty. So next time you guys want to look it up, whoever wants to check it out,
Okay. Why don't we let Ben say hi now? Ben?
Go ahead, Ben.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
Okay, I guess my microphone quit working on my headphones.
Do you have like a Xbox? Do you have like an Xbox style microphone?
No, it's just music headphones with the microphone. That's what I've been using for a long time. I guess it quit.
I technically have Xbox with a microphone, but since we're doing a simulcast tonight, I just have to leave it on speaker. By the way, in the future, you guys, we will be doing it just a regular show, and then I'll be uploading it later, okay? By the way, if you flip your channel to youtube.com/Flying Charm, you're going to see me on the webcam talking. That people can see my face the whole thing. But let's cut to the main topic now. And then I just wanted to tell you guys, for the last 30 minutes of the show, we can discuss other topics. But I do want to get to the meat and potatoes of this, because we did get a lot of hits on Monday night show, in which it was just me and Ben, and he pretty much completely summarized what happened with the fact that there was a federal mistrial and none of those people will be prosecuted anymore. But Ben, I did go over with a fine-tooth comb the Wooten memo, and basically I could list 20 allegations right here of what went wrong, but I'm just going to summarize a few because I want you guys to talk. First of all, not only did Dan Love and his cohorts exploit the Bundy family and also record their family conversations while they were in jail, which was later stopped by Meyer, they also sent pictures of their own girlfriends, private parts to each other, and bragged about their own sexual exploits. They did all kinds of things. But basically what they really did is they tampered with evidence. They physically threatened people by swearing and saying they're going to shoot the crap out of them right on site on the Bundy Ranch. They threatened to kill dogs and other things. I mean, it was just endless, the type of reporting. And not only was Wooten taken off the case, all of his files and documents and hard drives were confiscated. But luckily the memo was made public and the trial was dropped.
Yep.
Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I think that has something to do with the new administration. I think this would have kept going on. I think changing the administration and the Attorney General shook things up enough where the judge actually decided to look good according to the Constitution. I still don't think she's a very good judge. She's already let these trials go half of the first 10 amendments are dedicated to people accused. So they violated almost every single one of them and kept those guys in there for, 700 days almost or over? So
right.
Her deciding to do the right thing that's nice, but she should have stopped all of this right when it came to her.
The thing is, the most significant, when Larry Wooten, the special agent out of Boise, Idaho, sent this to Andrew Goldsmith, the Associate Deputy Attorney General at the National Criminal Discovery Place, the thing is, it took a few days to process it. It didn't get into her hands right away, but the worst part of the whole thing beyond the foolish behavior of the agents is they concealed evidence. They did not you have to inform the defense of actions that you're taking, and they failed to do that. They failed to complete criminal procedure in this case. And they did not behave in a manner conducive to federal investigative agencies. I mean, they could probably pick 5. Who's ever making that scraping noise, please stop. They could have picked 5 seniors from Duluth East High School to do a better job than these federal agents did. It was just ridiculous. And they probably also abused animals in the process.
Well, they did. There's video footage of that. They slaughtered cows from a helicopter. I mean, imagine how many Meals on Wheels they could have paid for if they didn't spend millions of dollars slaughtering the cattle.
I guess one reason I'm glad I wanted to tell you guys a mini prophecy about this whole thing. A couple of years ago when John and I restarted the network under my own name, we picked Tabernacle Faith as not because we're Mormons, and we've never been Mormons, but I have a lot of Mormon friends in California. But now when people go to search for the Clive and Bundy trial, we've done at least 5 shows on it. And it's blogtalkradio.com/Tabernacle Faith. It's going to seem more relevant. And I failed to mention that I did contact Clive and Bundy and the Bundy Ranch today on Facebook and ask them to join the radio show tonight. But I'm not sure how often they check that public page.
One thing is certain is that even though he has been temporarily exonerated, there's not an adjudication on the $1,300,000, I believe, $1,200,000, $1,300,000 of the the fine that he's supposed to be paying for using the BLM land pretty much indefinitely. So in the past. So for the most part, that should still be on the table. He's not out of the woods yet, but he is emblematic of the Nevadan cowboy, if you will. And that's how these people act. I live in Nevada. I live in Reno, and we deal with these people all the time. The Yerington 2 girls from Yerington, Nevada, They're the ones who are in the news, national news now, for the discrimination at their school by their principal and also the chief of police in destroying evidence and obstruction of justice. That is a norm around here in Nevada. So
that's a norm happening right now, though. That's a slander that's almost played out by now, isn't it? I mean, they've accused every single face that's a conservative is at the risk of being accused of something sexual now. It seems like.
Well, this isn't sexual.
Don, are you trying to say because of their posturing and their set of values that they're above the law as opposed to a person of color who might own land in Nevada?
Oh, ding, 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 ding. You win the Cupid doll. This is absolutely what happens is that when you've got your brother and your uncle and your cousin working in the police department, the judicial system, the Supreme Court justice system, you've got clout. You can actually be above the law.
Are you saying that the Bundys were connected to the law enforcement, the local law enforcement?
Well, I'm saying.
Why would they be thrown in prison?
well, no.
You know what, John? They were actually discriminated against by religion.
No. But the thing is that that's not what I'm not talking. I was talking in general. I wasn't talking about the Bundys in particular. Cliven and his family, they were just, I don't want to say anarchists, but they just disobeyed the law blatantly, and
Well, that's a court case. That's a court case to be decided.
But actually, they stopped paying the cattle grazing fees in 1993. This is nothing new.
Well,
but if you had read the federal investigation, how it's almost like the federal agents knew that they couldn't conquer the situation, so they just started calling them inbreds, making jokes about, Dan Love had a kill list, one of the agents, and he had two of the Bundys X'd out on the wall.
Right. And no, this is Clive. The Bundys made sure that it was Bundys against the world, essentially. Bundys versus the U.S. And that
No, because I've listened to what the exact words that they've said about it. They're not anarchists. They believe in government the certain way that they've read in the Constitution. They have a good argument for not paying the BLM. Because what is the BLM?
Federal government.
Yeah, but it doesn't describe the BLM in the Constitution. That's a newer thing. And to say that they can tweak the prices as much as high as they want, I mean, where's that covered in the Constitution?
Well, that's that's what you just said. The courts have to decide that, but but they wouldn't have been put in jail for 700 days just to. And if they were minorities, they definitely wouldn't have been let out. But this was
actually,
very.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because I listened to Ryan Bundy speak about the jail system.
Right.
While he was in there, he met a lot of people that were innocent.
Oh,
and a lot of people that had to stay there for their most of their time in jail was waiting for court before they were accused.
Do you understand that? Do you understand what you just said? Do you understand that happens all the time? It's everybody. A lot of people who are in jail unconstitutionally because they are well past any time that they need to have detentions from either their sentence or they haven't been sentenced. And this is chronic. The reason is because, and that's why the Bundy situation is so convoluted, is because nobody, we here in Nevada know it, that nobody knows does the job.
I guess what I was getting at was that he came out of there with a list of improvements and decided to read them on, live, which was,
but nobody,
days after getting out, he's already got this whole plan of why it's failing now, how much money it costs, who's benefiting from it, and how it can be improved.
Right, and the thing is that nobody's going to improve it because we have a complex. This is another complex, a prison. When we talk about the military, industrial, pharmaceutical, you throw in the prison system in that complex. They don't want to change it because that's their bread and butter. Just like, the same thing, with the normally aspirated fossil fuel burning engines. We've been able to make those 100 years ago, and nobody has been able to put them on the market because the big oil companies and energy companies, they squash it. It's the same thing with the prison system and the way.
Okay, I have a question. Go ahead, guys.
All right.
No, I have a question for Don. It's a challenge to Ben. Ben, on the last show that you said Monday night, you said that the Bundy family basically had family supporters there and mostly friends. And other people disagreed with that in the media circuits. They said that Bundys had supporters from all over the country who were just kind of like into their own type of cause as far as a we-them philosophical dispute with the U.S. feds. Now, John, would you agree that most of the supporters on the Bundy Ranch in 2014 were friends of the family, or do you think they were like outlaw white Americans?
It was outlaw white American 99%. The Bundys had their friends coming from around Montana, Oregon, Idaho, Utah. They had people come around who knew them and who were with them, but the majority of those people were people who were simply anarchists. Okay, I didn't mean to use the word again, Ben, but they are simply people who would want to see the Constitution, especially when it comes down to public lands. And people around the country, Ben understands, and I don't know if anybody else does, but BLM land makes up 83% of Nevada. It makes up, I don't know the specific numbers, but Alaska, Nevada, California, and Texas have the most BLM land in the country by far. So,
do you support that?
Do I support? Yes, because
you
allows
support BLM owning land.
I support it, even though it's beautiful land. If you've seen, and you know it, you've been here. The land is absolutely exquisite. You've got not only some of the more rare animal species, insect, everything species on the planet here, that you've got archaeological sites that have been completely untapped. We've got dinosaur remains that are
right. That's all that you're describing the landscape. That's fine. I guess I would disagree with your statistic. If you saw any of the footage, you would know that your statistic of 99% riffraff wasn't true.
Well,
there was women, kids. There was people on horses. I mean, it didn't look like an angry mob.
No, they were partying. They were having a good time until the doggone, and when I say having a good time, until the feds came in. But when I say having a good time, they were occupying highway bridges, and until they forced them more or less enclosed, they were all over the place, brandishing weapons, looking like lynch mobs, and having a grand old time. So
this is incredible to hear you flip like this, Don. I mean, I've listened to you talk about the police, and just you're siding with an authoritarian, militarized government because of race.
No. Because of what?
You flipped. You're on the government side. You support them owning land. That must mean you support the BLM being militarized.
No.
What else do you support?
John, I do think that some of your commentary is pretty audacious.
Who? Mine?
Like you made it sound like a cowgirl reunion or prairie picnic.
It was. It was a lot of the people who believe in the same ideas throughout the country. I live here in Nevada. I see these people. I didn't see the Bundy standoff, and I just looked at it from TV. I was traveling at the time that it started. But for the most part, that's the culture. I don't have to be there.
But it's like you're telling me the facts. You were traveling around and saw some of the mainstream clips, and now you're telling me what happened?
No, I'm not telling you what happened. I'm telling you.
You know what? It's time for Albert to come in. It's time for Albert to come in and shake us all up.
All I wanted to say, though, before that, is that both sides were right and wrong. But I do believe that if we need to protect our natural beauty, our natural monuments, our park system, that we do have to have some kind of enforceable situation or authority to be able to say, okay, we can't come in and just mine. You don't even understand that part of Nevada is uninhabitable, not because of the bombs that were bombed back in the nuclear test days that made this a radioactive wasteland, but and the water is tainted to this day, et cetera, et cetera. In many parts of the state, the soil is you can't farm it. You know, this place, it was bombed away. And if we want people to keep on doing that, and this
who was responsible? The same people were responsible for the bombing that are claiming the beautiful stuff. That makes no sense at all.
Point.
What you're saying is that you would rather be babysat by the federal government.
Why do you think I trip on white people? Because they're so hypocritical that they do things like that. The leadership, they do things like that. They tell you, and our president right now
has nothing to do with white. Has nothing to do with white.
It has to. It does. When you make the laws, when you make the rules,
under the president that we just had, you're going to say that.
But the president that we had saved the world. He saved the world from the president we had before him. He had.
Excuse me?
He
Are you
saved
saying
the world.
Donald Trump saved the world?
No, I said the president. I don't know. Okay, I've got to. Excuse me, that was my fault. I need to ask Ben. Which president was he talking about? Because
that actually made more sense, Jane. But
I hope you're not talking about Trump.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying the president. I'm saying that whoever the president was before Trump saved the frickin' world, and that was because of the president before him completely ignored everything that he did, and so he almost destroyed the world. When you've got a Lehman Brothers and that is going to take down an entire country, somebody's not doing their job, and I don't know how many times I've said that. In all actuality, nobody does their job. Nobody.
In the end, Obama caved into Wall Street, and all the TARP funds went to the banks, and the banks ended up having more power than the government anyway.
Well, the bottom line is that we still have too much money in our financial system. So we've got to unwind this very carefully, and this tax increase or reform doesn't help it because it's going to give too much money, even more money into the system, and the system cannot handle it. It will cause rampant inflation. Well, anyway, a lot of things will happen bad.
The problem.
I don't think there's too much money. I'll let Albert talk, please.
Okay. Go ahead, Albert.
Well, you know, I'm on the Bundy side. You know, I'm not a big fan of big government or government, you know, coming in and, you know, doing all this shit. But that's, you know, pretty much it. I went to this conversation before. I've been here before to the on the Bundy conversation, but I think it's kind of beat out of me, you know, and there's not much more to say.
I know, and we're not going to spend the whole night on it. I just I wanted all four of you guys here, so it's over now. There's not going to be a trial. The family, John said there's a few loose ends, but Ben and I decided to look more into the Wooten files to see exactly what was going on. I do have one last comment on this case, though. This Larry Wooten guy almost had nowhere to go. He spent months trying to report insubordination to the higher authorities, and they ignored him. Luckily, he didn't lose his job, and he just got reassigned, but really, it was out of control.
Right. And he was a position of power, too. And if he has nowhere he can turn, that's pretty bad for our government. I guess I wanted to say to Don,
right.
if you support militarizing the Park Service,
I don't support Ben. I don't support militarizing shit. You know how I feel about the military.
Well, you just said I'm just going off of what you just said. We have to have a way to enforce our parks from capitalism, basically.
More or less, and I said, and the only reason I said that is because the parks aren't, because there should be no need at all to enforce and support any damn thing. It's our park system. It's our natural. It's our right.
It goes way beyond the park system, Don. There's other things involved besides defending Crazy Horse. You know, there's things like people growing illegal crops on national land. There's all kinds of things. I mean, the Bundy family lived in the sticks in Bunkerville, and it's really not that pretty a land, to tell you the truth.
He's living right downwind from the soils from the Utah, St. George area, radioactive land, wasteland. Every time the wind blows, he's inhaling radioactive soil and air and everything.
Are you talking about that giant nuclear pile in the middle of Nevada?
I'm talking about the fact that the nuclear test sites were done, the nuclear tests. And if you understand, Jane, nuclear activity doesn't dissipate for 10,000 years or more. So this is continually going to be some kind of nuclear hazard. But most of the nuclear testing was done down in the southeast part of Nevada and the southwest part of Utah. So,
have you ever heard of Mount? Have you ever heard of Mount Yucca? There's a nuclear waste site in the middle. Yucca Mountain.
Right.
Is that where it was the nuclear leakage and it went into the water system?
No, that was up here.
Larry
was
Becker.
Hanford.
My professor wrote a book about it, Lawrence Becker. It has to do with how Congress approved it. And it's actually a nuclear waste site approved by Congress, and it's in the middle of the state of Nevada.
But it wasn't approved. It wasn't approved by Harry Reid in the Senate. So this is not a nuclear test site right now.
Well, it's not a test site. It's a dumping ground.
Golly, good repository, okay? So it's not being used as a repository because it has not been ratified. But yes, Congress did say that we could be the nuclear test repository in the country, and we told them, hell no. And that's thanks to Harry Reid. But
okay, well, technically, I think the states can handle their own land. I think what you're advocating for the federal government to continue owning all the parks and mass amounts of land, that puts the county sheriffs in a tough situation. You should never have citizens facing armed federal agents on their own land.
No.
There's a sheriff there. It puts all the sheriffs that border land like that in a tough situation.
Yeah, well, that's I'd rather have that than entire towns like we have here in Nevada, who are dying because of the mining and the irresponsibility. Again, Yarrington, we've got a lot of other towns that are dying. People have to leave because their water system is gone. Their land, again, is full of arsenic. The soil, you understand that if you put that in the soil, you can't get it back for 1, 3, 10,000 years. I don't want to be the generations that say that we destroyed the soil where we can't even inhabit our own land. I'd rather have somebody, police force enforcing, saying you can't destroy our land. So this.
But you're talking about the same people,
Don?
different division of the same company, basically.
Well, I'm talking about corporations who care about nothing. They care about nothing but profit. That's the existence. That's the definition of a corporation. A corporation does not have any claim to responsibility.
Let me put it this way: how many states do you think would voluntarily loan their state to nuclear testing? If all the land in the state was state land, how many do you think would voluntarily let it be used for nuclear testing? No, that's basically an overarching thing that just happened to the states. The same thing that caused the problem, you are putting the safety of lands back into their hands.
But you're talking about an extreme case. This is one case, if you're talking about Bundy again, and because you keep bringing up the violence. We had Waco and a couple other places. Those are extreme cases.
I'd like to say something about the nuclear testing. Because I've been watching a lot of recent news about, a lot of North Korea, from Kim Jong-un, doing a lot of nuclear testing, and, doing especially recently right now, a lot of missile launch testing, where they launched a missile pretty high into orbit, and it went down and fell on the coast of Japan. And there was a lot of in the mainstream media, like CNN, ABC, Fox News, a lot of the American mainstream media, and I see that the mainstream media is very focused when it talks about North Korea. It is very focused on talking about their nuclear safety and their missile launches, but they don't really focus on other aspects of North Korea, like torturing people, or maybe they have some camps, or people are starving. They don't really talk about. They only just talk about the missiles of North Korea. That seems to be the main topic. Even Donald Trump, he only talks about that when he talks about North Korea. He doesn't talk about anybody starving over there or anything like that. Which there are a lot of people starving in North Korea, but doesn't mention that at all. And I got to the point where if Donald Trump and the mainstream media only want to talk about that, is that maybe a future of possible like maybe war or takeover, like the same thing that happened in Iran. Iraq, and also Libya and Iraq. You know what happened over there. And I'm thinking maybe the same thing's going to happen over there in North Korea, like what happened in Iraq. And that's where I'm kind of looking maybe in the future. That's probably going to happen because that's what they're really focused about, and they haven't talked about anything about else over there.
Have you heard, Albert? Again, in my journalism background, there's a phrase called saying all the news that fits. And what that means is that you try to put in every factual fact. This is back in my day when news was real news. Most of the time, there was.
I know what you're talking about. Like when I watched the news and they talked about Saddam had nuclear weapons and stuff like that, and Saddam was very dangerous, and they mentioned that on the mainstream media. And then before you know it, they went down there and took out Saddam out of Iraq, and now it's kind of the same thing's happening in North Korea with Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, but Kim Jong-un is a Chinese puppet. Saddam didn't have anybody. He was dancing naked. So
that's not true.
He only had a few people who were.
Right.
He didn't have China.
He
didn't have China.
Can you give me it, Don? At the peak of Saddam's career, he did have a few respectable allies, and he was trying to court Egypt and a few others, but he never quite made it to the top. He was trying to become a regional hegemon in the area. I do want to interrupt you guys before you get too far into your conversation. The Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository was designated as a Waste Policy Act in 1987. Don was right, and I'll have to regret to inform you that he was right. The project was approved in 2002 by Congress, but federal funding for the site ended in 2011 under the Obama administration via an amendment to the Department of Defense and Full-Year Continuing Appropriations Act, passed in April of 2011. The project had many difficulties and was highly contested by the local public. That leaves the U.S. government and utilities without any long-term designated storage site for high-level radioactive waste. So Don was right. It never went off the ground. John Yoder's on the line.
How many times have I told you I was right? I'm always right.
Hi, John. Can you break up?
Hello, Jane Hoffman.
Try to stay on speaker.
Hi, John.
John, is there a way you can stay off speaker tonight?
Actually, I have a headset. However, I'm looking for it in my backpack, and apparently it is not there. I bet I left it at home. So, but I can go on mute whenever I'm not talking. That's not a problem.
Okay, well, we've already covered the Bundy case, and now we're on. Albert and Don were sparring over Saddam Hussein and some nuclear waste sites.
Saddam Hussein, my favorite guy.
I just want to tell you, happy Martin Luther King's birthday. If you want to really
That's right. Martin had a dream.
Yes, he was.
It is amazing that he had a lot of conviction in faith in God, and I think that's something that people don't realize, that without a faith in God and a belief that God gave us equality, and that He gave us a calling to love our brother and to have peace and love on the planet, that I don't know if he would have been able to sustain the same kind of courage or to endure the battle. Having a hope of heaven, and I think when you take that away, the message, even if you're trying to get peace, it tends to get angry. In other words, it tends to get kind of militant. And the fact that he's able to peacefully protest and to suffer, I think his faith was a really important part of that.
Yep, he was a good conservative.
Well, look at John. Look at the Facebook or whatever, YouTube, whatever you people look at. And
You people.
You call us you people.
I'm talking about computer geeks and idiots who are walking around with radioactivity in their pants, in their bra straps, and sometimes in their mouths. Yeah, but anyway, the bottom line is that I saw.
Don, I have to tell. I'm gonna do the courtesy of muting you for 30 seconds to tell you one thing. If you didn't have the internet, you wouldn't be able to be an Uber driver because all your transactions are through Uber, all your payments are through the internet, and Uber is sustained through the internet. Now you're back on the air.
And that's the only reason I have a smartphone. You know that I had my flip phone, and I'm perfectly happy to have calls come in, for me to be able to make calls and text. And that, my camera sucked. I didn't even use my camera, but I didn't care because the cell phones are killing you with the radiation that comes out. It's causing erectile dysfunction. It's causing a lot of cancers in the body. And if I didn't have to use it for this job, and by the way, Uber is just that. It's a business. So, but the bottom line is that if I didn't have to have that, I wouldn't have a cell phone. I just barely touch my computer. I don't want to know anybody else's maladies or malappropriations or misfeasances and malfeasances. I don't want to know anybody's.
I understand. I have to make an announcement to Ben, Albert, and John and you. We broadcast on YouTube Live for an hour, but having it on speakerphone was making a huge echo, so I'm just going to broadcast the rest of the episode tomorrow night because it was causing too much tech problems.
Okay.
So everybody go ahead with your thoughts. We can open the floor now to any discussion because nobody's watching my face on YouTube. Who is watching me?
Me, Albert. You didn't see my comments?
It just said one viewer, and all I could see is my giant mugshot.
There was the comments on the right bar. On the right bar where you could put comments, live chat. I was in live chat putting comments.
Yeah, I didn't get to see it because my Google Hangouts was covering it up. I'm sorry, Albert. So, do you guys want to continue with disparity in America, income inequality, the greatness of Martin Luther King, and the foolishness of our generation, or where do you want to go from here?
John raised a really good point about all this poisoning through our cell phones and all this X-rays and radiation and things of that nature that we encounter, and that is, I don't think it's the end of the world if we just stop using these phones and take a step back. And by that I mean we've had Amish and Indians and Aboriginals, and we've had Eskimos and people that have lived for years, hundreds of years on the planet, not messing it up too much and living a life. And I think all we're gaining is that we got some nice toys, we got some big screens, we can travel a little faster, but at what price? I mean, does it really matter? I mean, life is simple. You eat food, you have some kids, you enjoy the good planet, but we're obsessed with having so much. I just don't see the benefit of it, I lived before without cell phones for, the first 30, 40 years of my life. So I don't get it.
Well, I got something to say about that. I'm an optimist, so I guess the silver lining of where we're at technologically is that nature doesn't fear death at all. We're just at one point, pendulum swing. Nature will never die. So if we create technology that slows our life down to being 40 years old when you die of old age again, because we went through that too in the 1800s, 1700s. You didn't live very long. Now we're living longer, but we have more things that can kill us. and I just saw something really interesting about the difference between 4G and 5G, which they're already ready to switch over to 5G on everything. And it was a demonstration showing the response time under 5G, the difference between 5G and 4G. And it was a 3 robotic arms table that had a ball in the middle. And the guy moved the ball, and the three robotic arms stabilized the ball until it was back in the center. It wobbled it back and forth until it was back into the center. And under 5G, he moved the ball, and it took like 3 turns. Immediately put the ball back in the center. So if you could see the difference in the waves, it would probably, you'd freak out. The radiation that it takes to do that is ridiculous.
And, this is something people are talking about, the electromagnetic fields and all those things that actually they feel it. They can, and I would never. When I buy a house, there are 3 things that I avoid completely. And that's flat ground that has a propensity to flood, being in a place that I don't have defensible space, and being in a place where there is high electromagnetic or electric field influences, like near generators or plants or airports or anything like that. So we're talking about the fact that people do not know, completely ignorant of the fact that these cell phones are causing breast cancer and colon cancer potentially. I don't know about the colon cancers enough to say that. I can corroborate that, but
you could never blame it on that. You could, in a court of law, you could never blame it on the radiation because there's so many other things that cause that too. Whether it's the road spray, the de-icer, the spray that they put out for caterpillars every year, things in your food, things in your water. I mean, everything added up. I'm surprised we're not resilient to cancer by now.
So we've got many things that are slowing us down, our brain waves, our brain patterns. Because what happened? Well, I don't know. You've got wire earbuds that are growing out of your ears, so there you go. And once you
because of my brain waves.
There's no active, okay. But
the problem we run into, there's a limitation to humanity. And in other words, like take athletes, the performance level of athletes is off the charts, right, compared to 50 or 60 years ago, because it's such a science. Athletes have the best training techniques. Everything is studied on film and video. They're using all these different concepts regarding physical laws to get the maximum potential out of each athlete. But the problem is, take a pitcher. If 30 years ago, pitchers were throwing 85 miles an hour, 90. You got guys throwing 100, 102, 103 miles an hour. And you go, oh, my goodness, this is going to keep going and going. No, it's not. It's the physical ability of a shoulder can only go maybe up to 110, and you'd snap it or you'd have problems. Remember the 4-minute mile? They were talking for years, but someone ever beat it, and now guys have beaten it. But you're not going to break a 3-minute or a 2-minute unless you start getting into, cyber, robo-genetic people. And that's the problem I see is yes, drugs and technology are more effective. If I'm going to the hospital to have heart surgery, I don't want them to give me more vitamin C. It's not going to help me. They got to shoot me with adrenaline. They got to knock me out with a drug. They got to do all this high-tech stuff. But if you take that stuff every day, your body just can't handle it. as Michael Jackson and Prince found out. It's just too much. Your immediate effect is great. If you want to jump over a car and hit a cop, take some, get on some crack or some meth or something, you can do some crazy stuff, but it's going to kill you because our body has a limitation. So I think it's the problem we're going to run into. How much tech can we handle before we just blow up?
You can sure stream a hell of a live stream with 5G, I bet. That's all that really matters in the marketplace. It doesn't matter how many waves are going through you. It matters how fast you can stream everything.
And that is an excellent analogy to what we're talking about in terms of the Bundys and the federal government. It's the same kind of an analogy, is that these things will destroy you, so why would we let them happen or stop them from getting too large now? We don't need to become inhuman too much sooner than we already are. We've got 63% of all people in America are obese. We've got 71% that are just that includes that number, but who are over their BMIs. So we've got people who have fatty tissue that are essentially need to be fed, nourished, whatever, and they are not a part of our organ system. So we're growing new organs in our bodies as we speak. We're not humans once some of these, in the same mode as a normal human, and many of us are not human anymore. That's not right.
Oh, we're still human. I mean, DNA-wise. Of course, if you look like an aquatic species, you might not look like all the other humans, but the DNA is, yes,
still
maybe being damaged. Maybe our DNA is being damaged, but they've done a lot of studies on obesity regarding DNA. A lot of people that are you, hello?
You're breaking up.
Oh. I looked at a study where they were looking at DNA from obese people, and a lot of the obese people you can trace them back to places that had extreme famine.
Right.
And so if we adapt to overcome famine, and then we have abundance, and look at the abundance, sodium, sugar, fats. I mean, there's a fat spectrum now. I mean, there's people talking about good fats, bad fats, medium fats. But fat, salt, and sugar is what we get mostly, and other chemicals that make it taste like cheese and stuff like that. But that's the cheap food. If you want to go back to how the system's set up, that's the cheap food. That's what the people that go to work and can barely afford, a bag of groceries after they buy gas to get back to work, that's what they eat. The knockoff mac and cheese, the top ramen, all that kind of stuff is what people live on when they're struggling. So the struggling people are like the toughest people on earth.
Well, the thing is that if you know, it's the same conundrum as a cigarette smoker. You know that cigarettes are going to kill you, so you keep on smoking. Why? If you know that these foods, as I said, I'm a dance, fitness, and nutrition business owner, so health is of primary concern to me and my family, and we live that way. We don't eat anything in a package, can, or bottle. So if we know, in behalf of your argument, we have enough money that we can, buy natural foods, et cetera, et cetera. But GMO foods are killing people, period. There are the studies of Alzheimer's and
not according to the FDA. Not according. They won't admit that.
No, they won't admit it. They won't admit it publicly. But the reason that this type of information is out is because of memos, private and in-house memos that have been disclosed. They have whistleblowers over there too, and for the most part, we are looking at the fact that these folks know that they are killing us, verified or not, and these GMOs are in a lot of our foods, but they're not in all of our foods. So we can stay away from those foods that have GMOs. And one of your biggest is potatoes. They, and then you need to really watch potato intakes, but you don't. You want to keep away from bleached products like white rice, flour. You want to really you don't want to do homogenized milk if you can help it, but at least that's just a detraction of everything, and it still has some nutrients that are infusable. But all these other things, the GMOs not only kill you, but they decrease the nutritional values, because of the primary reason is to have them grow as fast as possible, so that you get more on the market. But
the
making
FDA
money.
is the organization, a different entity of the same organization that we were just talking about, called the FDA. Do you remember when the news was coming out about what Vermont wanted? They wanted labeling for GMOs.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That caused such an uprising about, the companies didn't want to do it because it was going to kill their business.
Exactly.
And I actually made phone calls and tried to talk to the top guy of the FDA around here, asking for the same thing. I called, set up a time where I could call him, and we talked. And I said, why is it such a hard thing for GMOs to be put, you can put a stamp on there that says it has it. Make it easy for the consumer to make their choice. And he said, well, what you're trying to prove is that GMOs are harmful. And that's never been proven. Me and my family eat GMOs, and we're just fine. I say, that was basically the end of our conversation.
And he really has the obligation to keep his job. That's what he did. He kept his job.
Well, also, along with that, when an expert or some authority person says, I eat this or I use this product and we're fine, that's always just a misstatement, because most of the stuff takes 10 to 20 or 30 years, or it might even be a generation later that shows up. I remember when malfunctioning spraying was really big, and there was such an outcry against DDT and malfunctioning spraying and a whole bunch of other chemical pesticides. And it was around 1968 or 69. I remember because I lived in California and we hadn't moved to Nebraska when in 69 or 70, and I was about 10 then. And the guy that was answering to the press all the stuff about it had a bucket of malathion, and he drank it in front of everyone. He started drinking it. He said, see, this has no effect on you. And, I wonder where that guy is today. Maybe he grew an extra arm or he died. But the point is, I think the problem we have is people don't have a faith in God, a strong faith in God. And by that I mean, because I believe in God, I believe that what he created is good for us, and that things that man creates are bad. And kids who are growing up being atheists or being taught to question faith in God, they trust in science, right? All that they believe in is whatever the scientific method is, that's what they're going to accept, and that's why they're so atheistic or counter-religious. And the point is, they believe what the doctor says. Take this pill, take this technology, get the faster computer, don't worry, like it's safe. We tested it by the FDA. They buy into all this stuff. I don't. I question it because I believe in God. I don't believe in man. but I don't trust man. I don't trust myself even.
And that's exactly what I don't know what not some of the religions around the world are the way that they are, because man does not trust himself. He forces his women not to drive and wear Sharia and Habib and everything. They have to wear these because they don't trust themselves. And that's one of the reasons why we need people like the EPA and the BLM. Even though I can't stand any kind of need for militarization, I like the way it should be, where everybody has the freedom to move around and do whatever they want to do. But we've got those few who are greedy and who will blatantly destroy anything they can. So, John knows about them with his renters. You've got your renters. You think you're bringing in somebody who's going to take care of your property, and the next thing you know, your property is destroyed.
The government's run by men, Don. What happens when the government gets greedy?
We're talking about checks and balances. But no, that's what's happening now. Is that we've got groups of men, or men grouping together in order to become one voice. Like the Citizens United potential example, but it used to be just like you said though. It was by men, by individual men, by a man. A man would take care of his own constituents. Now we don't have that. We have men who band together, tribalism, and they determine something that is good for everyone.
That's communism.
That's what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. We're getting where this group of people is making a decision, and everybody is going to have to be poor. Everybody is going to have to live in the same substandard or standard, whatever you might want to call it, situation, instead of allowing everybody to have the independence to have one representative, one voice, one vote, one voice. And, and that's not happening right now. We've got the two separate parties that are dictating everything that we do, and us regular folk are not happy with it. We're not.
I like term limits. I love term limits, and I don't think the people should have to suffer through a term if the people get in there and do the wrong thing.
Well, most governmental jobs, elected positions, have term limits. The federals don't necessarily have to, but everybody else does. And
how long has Mad Max been in there?
40 years. 45
For doing
years.
what? I mean, she's no Oprah.
No, but none of them are. I mean, my goodness, we got people in there who've been there longer than her. There've been people there longer than her, Ben. That's the whole point. She's damn near a newbie. So, we've got the
Pelosi. Frankenstein. What's her name?
Diane Feinstein.
Diane Feinstein and Barbara Boxer.
Yeah, all these people that were there before I was born. That's ridiculous. And listening to them talk, they get confused in what era they're in. They get confused on who the president is.
Yes, they do.
Guess what, Ben? The longest-serving Senator Orrin Hatch just decided to resign, and I met him in 1978 in Washington, D.C. when our church went out there.
Awesome.
You say awesome because he's a Republican. What's wrong with Diane Feinstein?
Did he put his hand up your dress? Did he put his hand up your dress?
No, but that stupid South Carolinian guy who believed in slavery, Jesse Helms, not him. There was another one, that idiot. I'm glad he died.
Just to make it fair, if you would have told me that you met Maxine Waters, I would have said awesome also.
You would have?
Yeah.
Well, I've met Maxine. I grew when I graduated. Well, I used to go to Los Angeles all the time, but when I graduated, I moved to Los Angeles, and my dad was in all the circles, and so I met them all when they were young, quite young, just starting off their careers. And she
I
was
think
just
I was talking about Jesse Helms.
Yeah, she's just like she was then. She's just like that now.
Well, I think when you're talking about Dianne Feinstein, or any of the like the boxers of this world, the only big issue I have with these people is the energy they put out. By that I mean it's supposed to be kind of from a liberal kind of people-friendly position, but a lot of what they say is just as angry as Donald Trump. I mean, it's just a lot of this bitter, upset, complaining about every little thing that doesn't go right, and it just seems like, by that I mean, it's just to a point of, I have a different ideology, but let's just say you had two choices. Let's say I could die by smashing into a building in 1 second, or I could painfully die from cancer over 6 months or a year and go through chemo and just be reeked with pain, so I'm on morphine drip 24/7. I want the airplane 1 second smash. And I think what you're seeing a lot with the Me Too movement, I totally understand the abuse that goes on. I understand that. I empathize with it. But in a lot of the situations, women are talking about a 2-minute or a 2-hour or a 2-week situation of abuse. But no one's talking about the guy who spends 20 years of spousal and child support for some guy who's unhappy, and he's got to spend hours and hours and years of his life supporting his ex and his family, plus a new person takes the blows. And, there are women that feed on this. They're looking for a guy to support. It doesn't happen too much with women supporting men, but the majority of money in the world is owned by women. It's owned because their husbands died and they inherited it. So you don't see a lot of women gunslinging about that kind of abuse, abusing men and just making them slaves to their whims. I think I would take the quick abuse thing over that, but no one's screaming about it because it's guys.
Well, they've apparently quick abuse is 30 years because that's about the average that these people have waited. But that's why I moved from L.A. As you know, I was pretty much in the middle of it, and there are errors. Let me just say there are errors made, and also many of these instances, the ladies are the ones looking for the I don't want to say sugar daddy, but looking for the opportunity to enhance their careers. Let me put it like that. And that happens all the time. So the pedophilia is coming out right now because everybody in Hollywood was a pedophile at one point. But it's going to be the women's turn at some point. They are capable, or were capable, let me put it like this, of demanding and being sexual harassers. So that'll come out in a little while. Right now, we're getting over the pedophilia part of it, which is significant. I would tell everybody to boycott TV, movies, Disney's, Disney, Nickelodeon, all of those, because virtually everyone on all of those shows have been victims or perpetrators of some kind of harassment, whatever it is.
What about the new Star Wars? I really wanted to see that.
Well, we can go together because I haven't seen it either.
Well, I could tell you one thing. I had a friend who saw it, and he did say it was a maybe not a woman wrote it, but it was written with that perspective to appeal to a female audience. And in the, I'll try not to spoil it, but basically, you do have a female who has to choose whether to save, a gazillion million people or let them all die and choose love for one person. And she's not making an unselfish choice. And, I had a friend see the thing is like, in war, you don't follow your heart. You give your life to serve the nation. You don't run around going, well, I'm just not going to take out Hitler here because I love my girlfriend here. But it's a lot of, you're seeing a lot of women power, and you're going to see more of it. There's going to be a lot of male bashing. And I don't know. I think that women are becoming guys, and maybe we'll see some more abuse that way. I do think that bad things happening unchecked is just the history of the world. Don was saying how this is it's a cycle that's been really repetitive lately. But there's a quote from, I'm going to misquote it, but it's Christian Bale there's a movie coming out, Hostiles. And, basically it's an American soldier trying to transport, I think, an Indian chief, and he's got to fight Indians along the way, and also white men along the way to protect them. And there's this gal from one of the teasers, and she says, she asked him, "Do you believe in God?" And I think she's kind of like a gun-slinging, rifle-slinging, pioneer woman. He says, "Yes, I do." He says, "But there's a lot of things going on here that he doesn't looking into," or something like that. And it's like, innocent Indians, innocent white people, are getting killed out here, and in the Wild Wild West, and it just goes on. And I think the whole history of the world has been like that, And so I think it's nothing new. You're just going to see a lot more injustice. I think it just gets sensationalized more because of the internet.
Yeah. Could be. Albert, are you still there? I didn't want to. Are you still there? Hello?
Albert? I haven't heard from Jane either.
Okay.
Well,
Albert's call dropped.
Oh,
Albert's call dropped.
I did have something about
Go ahead,
that.
Ben.
About our country is glorifying feminism. But I just heard something.
What do you mean by that, Ben?
A lot of our men have become feminists. I'm a feminist, but then there are a lot of men who have become female, and that's our problem. That when you have same-sex marriage and things like that that's legal, you're going to get a lot of people who are going to support things that they didn't support before, or be more overt in their support. And so we are slowly becoming a softer, gentler nation because of our viewpoints. Right. And a lot of that is because of the food we eat. We're becoming much more passive. They're allowing us to.
Well, you can't claim that you're a feminist and then blame it on the food.
Sure you can.
There's nothing.
If you're growing tits and losing, your erection and size and everything else because of your food, then you can blame the food. Then the food.
Okay.
GMOs do. The GMOs cause breasts in men, hair are in women, more muscular stature in women. These things are what GMOs do.
No, this is
true.
It might be some sort of a warfare, GMO warfare, but that seems to be a small part of it. You know, it's like
it's a huge part.
There's also an ideological warfare going on, and it's really heavy in the colleges. Feminizing everything is not going to work. I mean, if you look at it from an outside point of view, ask what country do you guys think is the manliest country? That's a provocative question, but think about it. What country is the manliest?
Pretty much
I have no idea.
I would say
Saudi
ISIS.
Arabia, because they
ISIS or any Muslim nation, like, you know, where they have Sharia law.
Well,
right.
I don't know. That's
why
that's up for debate. I like throwing out questions that's going to really trigger people, at least just to think about it. But if we're being attacked by within, if we're being told to humanize, if alphas are being destroyed, why? Why would somebody try to take the strength from within?
Because the alpha does takes baby girls and cuts off their clit and clitorises and makes sure that they wear veils and don't allow them to talk to anyone while even if they're able to even get out in the street. There are complete.
I wasn't even thinking of the Middle East at all. Actually, I was going to say Russia, Poland, Mexico. I wasn't even thinking about the Middle Eastern countries, and that's even more dominated by masculinity.
And in terms of men-centric, they're not even men-centric. They are men, period. So those countries, they won't let women do anything.
But I was going to say, U.S. at number one. I would think that the United States was the manliest country. They basically invented the term.
Right, and then the problem is that it's because of our faith in God, we believe in equality, and then people have kind of taken equality all the way to, you know, women have the same rights as men, and so basically there's this real desire for women to do anything a man can do, but that's kind of a misnomer because we're not equal. I can't bear children, you know, I don't have a vagina, and so give me equal rights, sure, give a woman equal rights, but don't call us equal. Because we're not. We never will be. And the more you try to make it that way, you're just complicating the natural flow of how life functions, really.
Everything is cyclical. Everything that goes around comes around, yada, yada, yada. And I've been through this movie. I wrote this movie. I used to march with Gloria Allred, Gloria Steinem, and Bella Abzug. Things, you know, I've seen Martin and Bobby and those guys speak. So what happens is that everything is cyclical. Right now, we are at the more or less apex of the right, I don't know how to say it, status quo right control, if you will. That's what we fought in the counter-protesters from the Vietnam War, of which I was in the middle of, as usual, with everything. And so we were fighting that. We got a form of women's rights. And then and we were getting that, and then certain things happened that started slowing down the process until we're here, where we're ready to rescind Roe v. Wade. We're ready to close up every abortion clinic in America. We're ready to do things with women's rights that would take us back to the 18th century, 17th century. where women are going to have to prove that they're women worthy of anything through land ownership, or hell, they have to own a pet. If they own a pair of Victoria's Secret panties, they have to prove that they're female. You know, I just, with 5 other people here in Nevada, approved finally the ERA, Equal Rights Amendment. So we have that 2 more states to go before we actually declare women equal. Women aren't even equal to blacks. These blacks have a doggone constitutional amendment. Women don't. And
actually, the 13th Amendment, I would like to refer back to prisons and everybody in them. I don't think the 13th Amendment was a racial amendment as much. I mean, nowadays, it's not an issue, but it's still an amendment. It's not a current issue. You can relate a prisoner to the 13th Amendment. It would still protect them, no matter what color they are.
Okay.
Or it still should protect them.
Well, then women are going to have to go to prison then to have protected class. But for the most part, we're looking at the fact that women are still not considered equal pay, equal work, or any of the other full benefits that men can have in most instances. In many instances, probably half the instances. So we're, you know,
that's where you have some problems, because let's say they are equal, then should Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant make the same amount of money as a female athlete? And when 80% of the college players, male, can go and play the female pro players and beat them? Or what if people want to just see, male football players for the Super Bowl? If we make it equal, do we have to give the women equal time and we have to watch the same amount of female football?
But there is no, I mean, it's supply and demand. There is a recognition that the genders are different, and that the product that they put on is generally, especially in athletic is going to be inferior in some form or fashion in terms of the physicality, the speed, and the strength. But if
you're treading on dangerous ground there, Don, talking about supply and demand and economics.
Yeah, because let's make it practical. Let's Don or anyone. You know, what if there's a fire at your house? You're at work. Someone says, "Hey, there's a fire going on," and you have the choice. You can call 2 fire units. One is with 10 guys, 6'5", 240, in top shape, and another one is a group of 10 female Hispanic women, 5'2", 120 pounds. And your house is on fire. You need someone to go in there, knock down the door, and drag your family out. I'm just speaking from a logistics, from a biological reality check. Who are you going to call to go rescue your family? Or you're drowning in the ocean, and you need someone to jump in and swim and get you as a lifeguard. Who are you going to call?
10 5'2" Hispanic ladies, because I know that they probably look good, but we're talking about, it doesn't matter if you've ever been on fire teams, fire crews, hired by fire. You know that there's one thing that if you can't get a structure or landscape, if you can't get it out, the fire out in a certain amount of time, the thing is that they'll all just sit on the sidewalk and watch you burn down, and that's what they do. So it doesn't matter who you're calling; they're going to have the same procedure, and that is if they can't fix your structure or your landscape, then they're just going to watch it burn. So they're both going to do the same thing.
Well, I can tell you, I work at the 99-cent store, and at 10 o'clock, people leave, and then the night shift comes in there to start working. We have pallets, we have pallet jacks, we have dollies, we have hundreds and hundreds of boxes. There are two teams. One team grabs the pallets, moves them, and breaks the pallets down, and guys with dollies unload and put it in, we roll it to the aisles, and then the women come, the second unit, and they take those boxes and they stock the shelves. I can only tell you, it's guys that are doing the hard lifting and labor, and there's a reason why. The women are going to get hurt, and they're going to have basically a claim workers' comp, and that's what happens in the military. Women get injured 40% of them compared to 20% of the males, and those are more permanent injuries. This is just reality. This is biology. This is physics.
This is the exact same reason why the guy got fired from Google.
Right. He was just stating the fact.
The paper that the memo was actually studying the differences between men and women physically.
Right.
And that's become dangerous territory to this movement because men are built differently. They can handle more abuse. The bone density is stronger. The shoulders are wider. I mean, you could go on. And there's differences in thinking, strengths and weaknesses in both sides.
But see, that's what I was going to say about my story with Gloria and Gloria and Bella and growing up behind the movement. I've seen it where and I mentioned it in passing, but that's the key thing. There'll be a time where they try it, and they find out that the biological makeup is even stronger than the physical difference. The biological makeup, a majority of women habitually are instinctually conscious of having babies. That is a biological mechanic that is, if you want to call it God-given, or if you want to call it natural, or whatever the case may be, but ultimately that plays out more than because there's comfort after a while, and so that biological need comes back, and that overtakes it. And I've seen it. I lived through it, and we're going through another of the female starships, if you will, and so we're looking at it'll happen, and in the next 10 years will be more like a gender norm again for X number of years until it changes again.
Well, women are geared psychologically to survive longer. By that I mean there's 3 or 4 things that happen. One is they have a support group. All women have other women in general, generally speaking. They have their little gossip group. They have their girl club. They talk about who they're dating, what everything means. Oh, he bought me, he bought me this thing. What does that mean? He wore this outfit. What does that mean? He said this to me. What does that mean? And they analyze. They go through strategies. They go, girl, you need to get this. You need to do that. You need to tell him to give you a ring. You need him to pay for this, blah, blah, blah. Guys don't always talk much. We're busy doing and maybe bragging about stuff, but we don't consult to get the support of how to survive. Also, when there's danger, what happens? John, I hear a noise outside. You go out there and deal with it. We need something moved. This looks kind of dangerous. There's a rat here on the ceiling. You got to go check it out. I had a neighbor come over. They had a mouse. Can you check this out? It's 2 women. It's like when there's danger, they want a man. If there's trouble, to call the guy outside. At work, there's a guy, a homeless guy making a big scene outside. Call the guys. Call security. The women are going to back up and say, get a guy to do this. That's survival. We're geared to kill ourselves or to sacrifice ourselves, more so than women.
John?
Yeah.
I have a job interview at the middle school at 10 a.m., so Don, Ben, and John, do you mind closing the show out?
Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead, John. Go ahead, John.
I'm already famous, so I don't need to be on the air anymore.
Jane's going to survive. She's always checking out. It's like, okay, you guys carry it the rest of the way. She's smart. That's survival.
By the way, catch the rats. Catch the rats for me. Can I tell you guys a testimony quick before I let you all go? I turned my financial issues and my financial budget over to my higher power, which is God. And within 1 week, I told God I would trust him. I'd never gamble again. And within 1 week, I got a $48 check for my insurance. That was a rebate from a loan that I canceled. And then Saturday, my roommate put my mail in the wrong place, and it was sitting on a chair, and I was sitting there last night at midnight, and I saw the mail, and I got a state refund from Minnesota on a bill that I paid in 2016 for $173.
Off to the casino?
No.
I'm sorry.
With it,
my bad.
What I paid, I double paid my health care last year. I got employee health care, and I think I overpaid the state for the MNsure back when my son, before he turned 18. To make a long story short, I turned my financial, I'm not in bad shape. I got money in the bank, plus I got a 401k, but I turned over my financial fears to God, and within 1 week, I got 2 unexpected income resources. That's all I'm saying. So the moral of the story is, yeah, go ahead, Ben.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
The moral of the story is don't fear your future. Trust in God and good things will happen. I'm not trying to preach to anyone. I'm just saying whatever your higher power is, trust it.
And that's what I've always been saying. Trust yourself and no fear. And anybody who fears things, they're the ones who are the biggest marks for people who are ready to scam or take money from them or whatever.
Well, there's different types of addictions. There's smoking, drinking, gambling, drugs.
Okay,
when it comes to gambling, money, blah, blah, blah. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
You guys can go back to what you were talking about if you want.
No, you were saying whatever you were going to say, that might have been important. But money, whatever it is, it comes down to money. What were you going to say?
I was going to say as opposed to other addictions, which is usually something you put in your body like a drug or alcohol, gambling is often based on the fear of running out of money, but gamblers run out of money while they're trying to make money.
Correct.
I have the perfect solution, Jane.
What?
Are you ready?
Yes.
So there's an app called Robinhood, and you can link it to a bank account. You can just make a bank account to put money into stocks, just like the casino. You can lose as much as you want, but you still at least get something back. It's fun. I've lost a lot of money this year in the stock market.
You've brought this up on the show before. I do have one joke about that, and I think you are you're a planner, You make decisions based on planning. Now, gamblers make decisions based on impulse, but I do have a joke. How many people lost on the Vikings game today when they scored a touchdown in the last 5 seconds?
I didn't watch it. I'm sorry.
But they won.
No, but Ben, there were 2 field goals and a touchdown within the last 3 minutes. If you can believe that.
Okay.
Each team
What's
scored
your
a
point?
field goal, and what happened was the Vikings were ahead, 17-0. The Saints caught up. Then it was tied at 20-20, and then the other team the Vikings were ahead at 23-21 because they got a field goal. Then the other team got a field goal, and it was 24-23, and there was like 15 seconds left, and our quarterback, the Vikings, threw a random half-ass pass to Stephon Diggs, and he caught it and ran down the field solo and won within the last 5 to 10 seconds.
Well, just remember that the play the guy missed. I don't even know what he was trying to do to the defensive back. He missed him completely. I don't know if he was trying to stay away from pass interference or what. But there's no way he should have either caught that pass or at least caught it without being touched. And so
You're right.
In sports, there's a lot of things called point shaving. And there have been point shaving in some of the biggest games of all time. And I'm not going to say that point shaving might not have played a part in this particular game.
Point shaving? Is that what you said?
I think Don's a sports bettor. I think he's talking about how he believes some professional teams are told ahead of time how many points to win or lose by.
Correct.
Now, in this case, but I don't want Ben to be like fearful of Don's attitude, because the fact of the matter is, with 3 minutes to go, the Vikings were only ahead by 2 points, and they scored a field goal. And then the other team scored a field goal with 2 minutes to go, with 1:30 to go. And then the Vikings scored a touchdown within the last several seconds. So there's no way any construing could have happened about that game and sports betting.
Whatever.
It was crazy, and you were at a Martin Luther King memorial, so what do you know about it?
That's right, and I've got to get up my own self at 8 o'clock and get ready to do our only one-of-a-kind in the country caravan. And I'm the chair of that, too. So I've been working my butt off for the last 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, putting all of this together. And then once I finish that, I'm getting ready as a co-chair for the Women's March here in Reno. So I take care of that, and we'll be able to have the Women's March on January 20th. So I'm...
cool. My last comment on is that black people are superior, but I forgot a white guy threw the football to him.
Right, but black people are still superior. That was luck. But
now that's a joke, Ben and John.
Racism.
Don't take. I said it with a grain of salt just to see how Don would react.
Well, that's right. He threw the ball up in the air, but that guy had to catch it and make the miraculous move, and then outrun the rest of the defense the other 45 yards. And if he was a white guy, I don't know if he would have made it even 15. So
I'm so glad it wasn't another brilliant Irishman that got that touchdown.
There you go. He would have made it about 30 yards.
Who are you referring to, Ben? Who are you referring to, Ben?
Well, I won't go down the list. It's all right.
Because Jane, that was racist. That was a racist.
I know it was racist. That's why I'm glad we're not simulcasting right now. By the way, Bud Grant and Fran Tarkenton are both still alive. So when the Vikings win the Super Bowl, I'm going to tell you, when the Vikings win the Super Bowl in their own stadium, because the Super Bowl's in Minneapolis this year, it will be the second coming of Christ.
Right, because they lost 4 others and they've never won a Super Bowl yet.
Hey, if you bet on that, Jane, that's gambling.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You've got against God.
I'm just letting you know right there. There's a trigger warning right there.
You said God would never let you do it again. So,
I'm not going to gamble. I'm just speculating because I'm a prophet. By the way, you guys, go ahead, Ben and John.
I was speculating that putting money into the stock market would have been a great idea a year ago, and I must have chose the only handful of stocks that. But now I'm back above zero.
You told us about a grocery store one.
Yeah, it was Whole Foods, and when Amazon bought them, I didn't have enough Whole Foods stock to get a whole Amazon share, so they just cashed me out at a loss.
You guys, I don't know why we're echoing, but I have a new phone. Is John or Don on speaker? Okay, let's do our. Can we do our final thoughts, you guys? It's
all right. Let me do my final
12:54 in Minnesota.
Right, and it's 10:54 here, so I'm kind of getting tired. But I'll just do mine because I'm getting ready to go to bed. I've got a long day tomorrow too. Because after our this will be my conclusion. My conclusion is that Martin Luther King holiday should be corporate-wide. There are so many gaps in the fact that the federal government, the state government, they recognize it, but a lot of these companies don't, and that's race. I think that because of racism. There are any other holiday has companies except for hospitality and some other regular emergency services that have full holidays. This is the time that this is the holiday that I believe should have the same kind of recognition that these other holidays have. So tomorrow I'll be out with my caravan, and then in the afternoon Pat has a panel at our UNR campus, and that's the University of Nevada, Reno. And then we at night have our annual banquet held by NEPCIS, NEWO Business and Northern Nevada Black Cultural Awareness Society. So we've got a lot of Martin Luther King events to commemorate his memory, because his memory is the especially now, is the only thing that's keeping more or less us in America from civil war, from the brother beating brother, because his voice, his viewpoint is keeping us kind of grounded, if you will. And I think that we deserve to be able to celebrate him in his fullest. Because he did affect the entire landscape of America. And with that, good night, everybody. I'm going to bed.
Okay, John, I'm going to let Ben or John go next, but the state of Wisconsin is not closing their schools tomorrow, and I do think MLK Day gets slighted. A lot of businesses completely ignore the holiday, and even some state governments.
Every other holiday has full complement of closures. so that they can fully recognize this is a federal holiday. It should take some kind of precedence over overall importance, where we should have everyone more or less have the day off. It's hypocritical, and it's also immoral that you've got these corporations saying, come visit us or come buy from us on Martin Luther King's big sale, blowout Monday weekend, fabulous January. And then they either stay open, they could care less, they don't allow...
Well, they do it on the 4th of July, too, Don. I hate to tell you, and Columbus Day.
I'd like to... For one, I have to work tomorrow, but if it makes anybody feel better, tomorrow is payday for me, and my bank is closed. So that's pretty cool.
Why would I? Yeah, but you're not American, because every American has direct deposit.
Well, you get paid on a Monday, Ben? Then you get paid on a Monday?
It doesn't matter. I'm actually grateful that this week I have money left over, and I'm good. I'm fine.
Amen.
So, but
there you go.
Okay,
well,
I wasn't trying to get in your business, but if you have an ATM card, you should be fine.
No, I'm fine anyway. I just wanted to bring it up that I still have to work, and my kids get to stay home. But I did want to bring up that I think the school did a really good job of not forgetting the holiday. The school did both kids came back. They go to different schools. But one's in elementary, one's in middle school. And both schools did presentations, and they talked about things, and they did not forget the holiday. So the kids know exactly why they're staying home. What they choose to do with their day is up to them. I hope they choose wisely, because I'll be watching. We got a camera.
That's cool. John, thank you, Ben. That was valuable information. John, I'm surprised you haven't piped up about this holiday.
Well, it's an important holiday, definitely. It's groundbreaking. I think maybe what they should do is at Disneyland include Martin Luther King with the president display that they have there, except in the spirit of true equality and fairness, they should have an Asian transgender woman portray MLK, because we're all equal, and there should be any bias. No, of course I'm joking, but I'm saying,
well, you know what Donald Trump calls it? He calls it shithole day.
Yeah,
that is not true. It's fake news.
I know I'm being a jerk.
That's okay. But the point is, we've gotten to this point of just, I think overdoing things. I do think, though, that we should respect the day. If anything, at least, make a more, a bigger attempt to celebrate it, whether in the programming of TV and the news, actually do some specials on Martin Luther King. I think it would be a great thing, and kind of delve into his spirituality and into the things that influenced him, and we'd be a better country for it. I think a lot of his faith, if you realize he's named after Martin Luther, the reformer, so there's a lot of issues with our country as far as separation of church and state, in delving into the spiritual nature of Dr. King. They want all the good stuff, but they don't want to deal with the implications of his faith in God that inspired him to take these kind of stands.
We'll talk about that next week, and that's a good point. And by the way, the state of California celebrates Cesar Chavez Day on March 31st, and all the state offices and some banks are closed. So for some reason, go ahead.
I think Don's still on speaker.
I know, because my damn $329 phone didn't help this broadcast.
Well, no, it hurt the broadcast. No, I'm still here just listening, but that's no.
But John made a good point.
Right, because you get to a point where they won't replay his statement. They'll say, free at last, thank the universe, Almighty, we're free at last. It's like there's a certain aspect of they don't talk a lot about his faith in God, in inspiring his stand to give his life and for that cause and to that belief system. They just deal into the equality part, the humanism part of it, trying to tap that. But it wasn't humanism that inspired Martin Luther King. It was just his profound faith in God. So that's something we could talk about next show.
Well, thank you for bringing that up today, and we'll see you guys next week. I think we should end the show. Many of us have to get up early tomorrow.
I didn't get a conclusion yet.
Uh-oh. There you go.
Go ahead, Ben.
Okay. I wanted to read Article 13. And I'm getting a really bad echo.
I'm gonna mute Don and John quick because there's an echo. So don't. Wait, hold on a second, Ben. Okay, go ahead,
okay.
Ben.
Okay, so I know slavery isn't exactly covered by word or racism isn't exactly covered, but slavery is. And Article 13 is really short. I wasn't going to read Article because it has nothing to do with what I'm saying, but 13 is 2 sections. Section 1, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States, or any place subject to this jurisdiction. Section 2 says, Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. So that basically says that unless you're convicted, you're not to work for free in this country. And that's pretty general.
In the sense of a crime?
Right, in the sense
Are you talking about someone who's committed a felony or misdemeanor?
Convicted. Now, whether you can argue how steep the punishment should be, how much you owe for your crime. But if you're convicted, Amendment 13 actually covers what happens to you. Basically, if you work to repay your debt, that doesn't go for the accused. That goes for the convicted. So that's where we need to remember people who are subject to involuntary servitude or had their rights taken away when they're just accused and not convicted. I think that's one of the major things we should change. So it's not only for the time of slavery, the time of the Civil War. I mean, this is an amendment that lasted this long. So I think that should be, we should look at our systems, and I think there should be somebody dedicated to looking at our systems with the first, with the amendments in mind. Because if you go through some of the laws that have been passed, there's a lot of violations. And
I understand.
I will be thinking about, I'm going to listen to some.
We can talk about Section 14, Article 6, or vice versa, about Gore v. Bush next week if you want. About equal application under the law, equal clause. So with that, we're going to end the show. Don and John, do you want to say goodbye? You're off mute.
Bye. See you guys next week.
Okay, I'm going to play one of John's songs.
Goodbye, Don and John.
All right, and Ben, you can finish next week.
All right.
If you're gonna bet on the Vikings. Good night.
By your hand, my dreams and schemes and all I have surrendered to your plan. I know that I'm inadequate, I stumble and I fall, but still you always pick me up whenever I will call. We humbly bow before you, we love to praise and adore you. We humbly bow before the throne. We give you all the glory. Salvation is our story. We humbly bow before the throne. I offer up myself to you, protected by your hand. My dreams and schemes and all I have, it's surrendered to your plan. I know that I'm inadequate, I stumble and I fall, still you always pick me up whenever I will call. We humbly bow before you, we love to praise and adore you. We humbly bow before the throne. Salvation is our story. We humbly bow before the throne. I need you by my side. Forgive me for my pride. Please hear my cry before the throne. I need your precious touch. I know this life ain't much. I can feel the rush before the throne. We humbly bow before you. We love to praise and adore you. We humbly bow before the throne. We give you all the glory. Salvation is our joy. We humbly bow before the throne.
John, do you think that song sounded like it was clear? Okay, I'm ending the show.
All right.
No, I was just saying I uploaded that from an MP3 from one of your discs. Do you think it sounded warped at all?
Oh, yeah. In fact, give me about 20 seconds here. I'm just checking out at the store. I want to give my attention to the generous clerk. Counting down, 10, 9, 8. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Are you at the 99er still?
You were saying?
Okay. A long time ago, I uploaded those songs from the disc, and tonight one of them sounded warped.
Okay. Yeah, it's possible. You would need a, I can email those to you also.
I have them through email. I might have to re-upload them.
Oh, okay. Because I can always send it by email or, they're like MP3s.
Okay,
so
let's cover that. Okay, it's your turn to say goodbye, America.
America, if you're listening, please disregard anything John has said the last 2 hours, and we will submit all of his tapes and digital recordings to the government for review. to make sure it's politically correct.
No transgender substitute for Martin Luther King.
Right. I tripped the transgender button again.
Serena Williams for president. And Oprah as a running mate. Just kidding.
Do you think,
okay.
Do you think Oprah's going to run?
No, and Oprah told her best friend she wasn't running.
Yeah, I would think that it wouldn't be a good move for her, but it'd be interesting. I wouldn't mind it, actually. The more the merrier.
Well, she's getting up there in age, you know.
That's true. It's a very intense job, and yes, but we could discuss Oprah on the next one.
Sure, I'll let you go. Good night.
Good night, Jane Hoffman.
Good night, America.
Good night, America.
This is New York firefighter Raphael Porriette for Firehouse Subs. Every day, a part of every sub you buy at Firehouse Subs helps provide life-saving equipment for first responders. And now, for a limited time, they're introducing the Daily Sub Special. Every day, get a medium sub of the day for just $5.55. They kick it off with Meatball Monday and finish it off with Italian Sunday, with something delicious every day in between for just $5.55. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Tap the banner now to learn more. This is New York firefighter Raphael Porriette for Firehouse Subs. Every day, a part of every sub you buy at Firehouse Subs helps provide life-saving equipment for first responders. And now, for a limited time, they're introducing the Daily Sub Special. Every day, get a medium sub of the day for just $5.55. They kick it off with Meatball Monday and finish it off with Italian Sunday, with something delicious every day in between for just $5.55. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Tap the banner now to learn more. 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 Banner now